All right. I think I might be live. Let me see. Should be live. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. What's going on in here? Ah, I am live. There we go. Okay. All right. Let me try to catch up on this thing real quick. Um, Good lord. This thing's being really difficult. Okay. I think I'm good. See, it always messes up the like any of my settings. Like I had a whole different title and it just reused the one from the last stream. I'm just gonna change it really quick if I can. I don't think I can. All right, that's fine. I didn't want to change it anyway. That's fine. Whatever. Um, jeez. Okay. Um, okay. So live. Okay. Um, a lot happened this chapter, so I just wanted to open up the live to kind of chop it up with you guys, get your input and all that good stuff. Show 93 tweets. I just refreshed this, man. Yeah, this whole thing changed a lot about everything, and I'm currently doing a reread and just a very slow reread. We got 3 months, so we're kind of chilling here. I I just want to make sure we don't miss any bases, and it's easy to do that with Black Clover as it is. Uh, Let me look at the chat. Let me see here. What's going on, Zaldonix? Jamal? How does it feel to pretty much have every single one of your theories confirmed? I mean, they haven't really. A few have, but not every single one. I was really hoping we would get like a fake Lucifer. It seems like that might have been the real one. There's still hope that it might not be the real case, since now there's time involved, like some actual time manipulation. So we'll see. Minato, we're alive, barely. And then I'm going to apologize for my shitty English from now on. You don't have to apologize. Now I know that English might not be your strong suit, so I can take it easy. Okay. So I want to see first what everyone's talking about and see like who's saying what and why and all that. I'm hoping to find some Black Clover hate from like big accounts, so we can just smash them together. What is this? What is this lady on my Akon the Stallion? Just check my boyfriend's location and seen him on a date. Uh oh. Anyway, that was dumb. Um. Okay, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Brood. I already addressed this once, but I'm still getting a lot of questions about it, so I'll answer again. The kanji used for Black Clover's final arc announcement is blah blah blah. Literally meaning final chapter. This was the same kanji used for Thousand Year Blood War. Interesting. That is interesting. Kanji is really important to like look at. A lot of us English speakers don't realize, but each character means something different. If and you guys, Minato sent me a message today talking about what some of you guys were saying earlier about like if you take out the middle character in the kanji for Magic King, it's Demon King. So it's the language changes, especially when it gets to the kanji part. You can take one character out and leave the other two, and it'll mean a completely different thing. It's a very hard language to get a full grasp of. So it is important to look at. But that's interesting that that's the same kanji used for that, because then we can expect a whole lot of other chapters, and like things are going to go down. We know how much Tabata loves Bleach. So I'm now expecting much more than I was expecting off of that. That's cool. Okay, Zardan. We got, a banger, 1450 likes. Okay, let's see what he says. So we know that if the grimoire opens means that the spell is activated, right? And Julius's grimoire was always open, right? And in chapter 331, he just closes his grimoire, means the spell is inactivated and says time's up. So what the heck was he casting this whole time? Okay, I see what he's saying. Because, like, the Julius's grimoire was in the sky during Patri's fight. And it's obviously too big for him to carry around. I see what they're saying. I'm I just don't know what to think of it. You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't I don't feel like he would have been manipulating, or not really manipulating, but like casting a spell this whole time. Like, at some point the grimoire would have to be like not doing anything. You know what I mean? I've always thought it just disappeared because, like, imagine it like this: you're a mage in this world, in the Clover capital specifically. A lot of people know how to fly, and you're flying, and we don't notice like this giant, like this giant grimoire with no covers. I I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that there was a continuous spell happening. Not to say that is impossible at all, but that's an interesting observation. Because, yeah, Lucius closes the book, but to me, what it looks like is that that would. So if you guys just saw the video, I'm insinuating that we have Julius, then there's Osteroth, and then there is Lucius. These are three separate beings. So I feel like this would be Julius's grimoire, and then all that happened was that as Lucius took over, his grimoire came into be. And then we also have to realize, like, Julius did effectively die, right? And that grimoire did disappear. So whatever spell that was there would have been lifted, and that did leave with the Hagal symbol on his forehead. So that's interesting. Trying to think of like what happens, because then, okay, he doesn't have that mark back on his forehead when he revived himself, and he does note that it's because that was where he was storing all the time. And then he only has one page, which would be inactive like this whole time. So I'm not. I don't think I'm seeing it anymore, like what they're saying, because he now. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. What are you guys thinking about this? What's up? Final message. Booth, this 3 month break is gonna kill me. Not me, dude. This gives us time to like read and really see what's going on. Still hoping fake Lucy theory. Same. That was such a really lame excuse for like a ruler of hell. But we'll see. Tabata obviously knows what he's doing. Obviously, so we don't need to doubt him at all. Final. Does he close the grimoire? Isn't his book without a cover? I said. So yeah, he closes it right here. Oh, actually, they might not have shown that specific panel. Yeah, here we go. So we see it right here in the back. It starts forming that cover, and then it finally closes, and so that's when we get that final grimoire. So yeah, we do see it close. And like just to cover more of your message, final. So yeah, his Julius has a grimoire without a book, without a cover. So if Julius is separate from Lucius, then his grimoire would remain without a cover. So think of it like, uh, kind of loose, like Patry and William, where Patry is not using William's grimoire; he's using his own, and William's is dormant while Patry is awake, and then vice versa. So here we're seeing that, but just with one grimoire. So it's kind of interesting how this happens, but what it kind of signifies is what the video was trying to explain, that this would be, he's sharing the same soul as Julius, so they are connected in that way. So it's just another interesting take on like how souls interact with each other in this universe. What's up, Sidarius? I don't know how to say your name. Iqbal? I'm going to say that. Lucy makes a plot that he creates his own manifested persona and sets up a false heart to find out who the traitor who always tried to prevent him from manifesting perfectly into the real world. Well, that's interesting, actually. That'd be really interesting. I do want to note, like, there's still a very clear personality difference between, like, the boisterous one that we got, and then the one that speaks to Dante. And then the one that's speaking to Dante, the silhouette, like, it's very clear. You can see that he's in bondage, like, he's in chains, or something, but he's not free. So something really weird is happening within the at least the lower recesses of the Qliphoth that we're still not completely clear of. So Trayvon, Lucifero being also known as Satan in BC is interesting. A lot of us were thinking that would be a different entity entirely. Yeah. So all that does is that it still leaves a possibility for a Lucifer, and it makes sense because you guys have been here on Ground Zero. Every time I've ranted about his name, Lucifero, you know, being the Lucifer just doesn't make sense. Like, we were not going with like Beelzebubo or Adremaleko or Lilitho. Like, we're going by true names, and so for Damnatio to clear it up and say this one is also known as Satan, does leave room for a true entity of Lucifer to come about. However, that being Satan does bring it to the fact that Satan is, in most Qliphoths, or actually in all, I don't think I've seen one, Satan is the highest one, where Lucifer would be below Beelzebub. So, yeah, it kind of shifts the dynamic a bit, but it doesn't completely overrule some of the thoughts had there. What magic is what, Zeldonix? Dylan, you said mind and time magic for Lucius. So yeah, I'm thinking somewhere, or if not soul magic, yeah. So I'm thinking more towards the idea of like astral projection. So yeah, kind of soul magic, but he's not necessarily manipulating other people's souls. It's just his. And for this, in my idea, it would just allow him to uh, act as a parasite and eventually overtake someone's entire body, like we just saw here with Julius. And this could have really been his first attempt. So it's kind of still tough to say, but right now that's what I'm thinking, and it aligns with the whole body or flesh, bone, and blood. The only thing you need on top of that is a life to bring it all together. So that's definitely possible. Also, time devil vanished. Did Lucius also take his heart? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure WKI. What? Oh, light. Okay, we'll get to that. Um, so the time devil vanished. Lucius also take his heart. I don't think Lucius took Astaroth's heart. So what I feel like is happening, if you guys are following my private, which I recommend, and I know I have a lot of requests in there, but I'm such a stickler about like who I see that like actively interacts, so I know like these people on a certain level. I get a lot of people that just like follow and then like they don't ever say anything. So like while I might recognize the name, I just don't recognize you from like lack of interaction. So, but anyway, if you're following the private, I can probably just show you this thread. I think I mean I'm not gonna call my own child ugly either, but like I think it's pretty interesting just to think about. Let's get to it. But let's go to what WK is alluding to while my slow ass computer is catching up. So he says light, and I think that's looking like it might be the case. Just because there's the panel that someone pulled up. It might have been WK, it might have been someone else. Who who pulled up the panel where we first get the encounter between Julius and Patri, which is now wildly important. And that chapter is titled Light. So Patri comes in to save Sally Voltos. I think it was just those two, and then two like randoms from the Eye of the Midnight Sun. And he escapes with all but one. And Julius is there with Asta, and he says, God, what does he say? It's like light magic faster than mine. And it's like, it's very apparent. Like he's alluding to it. It seems like he's alluding to himself having light magic. So, what that does is it makes us question a couple of things. Is like, how often is Lucius in control, or has Julius always been just sliding towards this evil side, maybe barely acknowledging this darker side of him that he's not fully aware of, and has always been kind of just askew. And then what type of magic lies within there? So we also have to acknowledge this. We're gonna have if Julius is his own entity, which it does seem like is the case, Julius is gonna have a magic of his own. Then we have Osteroth's time magic, and then we have Lucius and whatever magic he's using, which it does seem like he's using a magic that is allowing him to take over a soul, to revive himself. But then we also have to acknowledge this symbol on his forehead, which does signify that he might be contracted to a devil. So there could be 4 magic types at play, which really is unprecedented in this series so far. And not to mention that he's going for an undying body. So to have up to 4, not confirming there is 4, but it does seem that way. We're going to be in for very, very tough battle later on. Not to mention, if he brings back his siblings, it's going to look very ugly. But the light. So I was looking this up prior to recording the video, because why would he say light magic faster than mine? Like, so this insinuates that he's got a different type of light. It's not your typical, what we saw with Patri, and dare I say Lix. It's not your typical light. And what I'm going to put out there is that it's probably a negative light or a UV light. Something like we saw with Patri when he went into his dark elf form. Now, I've still got to do a bit of reading. I'm not sure if that light was still as fast as his normal light, but if not, it might not look exactly like that. But what I'm saying is that we have to really look at what he said and why he said it. So if we go with UV light, I've actually made a thread about this a while back when talking about Morgan, and what type of light magic I'd want him to have. UV light does seem attractive for Lucius, just in the matter of it's what's used for black light. And so it is the slowest moving light form that we have. And it's more susceptible to be bent. So when you look at a rainbow, the highest color that you see is what? It's red. And that's because that is the highest form of light, and it's less likely to bend when you put the light through a prism. So that's the least bent part of the rainbow, and then the inside is the most bent, and that is the violet part, if you guys are aware of Roy G. Biv, V for violet. So it could make sense in that way. And then when we apply it to like Luciferianism or Satanism, they have what's called the Temple of the Black Light. So and they acknowledge how the negative light is beneficial for humans and their own personal awakenings and all that stuff. So and I just said at the end of the video, I do think Lucius is one of our one of our antichrists within the series. So it would make sense in that regard. All right. Okay, let's look at this thread really quick, because I wanted to acknowledge this whole heart thing, and I think it's really interesting. So I'll just read it to you guys here. So aside from all the backlash, no, not that part. We don't need that. Adrenaline flies away with Lucifero's heart. That's important. And so almost a year ago, I made a video talking about why it's within the realm of possibility that devils can't be killed no matter what anyone does, or at least not without consequence. The idea behind it is due to the fact that, according to ancient Egyptian mythos, this is regarding it's called the Emerald Tablets, if you want to look it up yourself, which has provided one of the most sturdy backbones in many popular religions, but most namely the Kabbalah. So this is even used in like the Bible, anything that you can think of aside from like Buddhism or Taoism. This is really the backbone of it. Well, actually, Buddhism in some senses, and still Taoism, but maybe not as far as like the devils in it go. But the ideas are still there, and it comes from this. So devils are capable of creating physical things. Only devils are capable of that. And so, however, they can never bring life to anything. That is only something that light beings can do. With the exception of Megicula and Adremelech for now, the supreme devils we have seen have attributes that are really more natural than they are unnatural. We had fire, ice, space, and gravity. Now, I know this might sound controversial for space and gravity being natural. Just because they're not like an element doesn't mean they're not natural. I just want to make that very clear. As long as they exist here and now, they are natural. Now let's look at the tree used in the Advent. Okay, excuse me. I want to say like base natural. There are some things that can happen, and this is the whole point of alchemy, which is going to be the point of the next video. There are things that can happen that are like, I don't want to say supernatural, but just super natural. Like they're still natural, but I don't know, without spoiling anything. If I wanted to turn water into wine, okay, wine has existed. Water exists. To turn water to wine is going to take an extraordinary feat, a supernatural feat, if anything. So that's what I mean. Like we can still reach these processes. And the medium used to get from point A to point B can be very unnatural. So, but still create a natural effect. So I just wanted to clear that up. So now let's take a look at the tree used in the Advent. So this is important. I've been studying this in the background for almost a month now. So Dante refers to it as a magic channel. So this to me insinuates that it acts as more or less a stream of magic that flows in a certain direction. So if we're looking at this like almost a river, it has all these banks that magic is accumulated in. But this is the main river. And then it flows this way from top to bottom. And this is where Earth is. So remember that the light and dark trees work very similarly in the way that power is passed from the highest, given they are both standing side by side for perspective, all the way down to the physical realm. The last thing I want to look at before getting into the meat of this idea is that devils are said to be static when it comes to power, which rings truer and truer when we find comments like Megicula's, where she's legitimately surprised at the rate of growth, or the growth period, that humans show to have. All the points going into the thought, we have the halls of Amenti from the Emerald Tablets, that devils rule the physical, the magic channel, and the static power system for devils. So here's the thought. The personality of Lucifero is dead. However, Lucifero's power is not, as we saw Jamelech fly away with it. But why? So I think it's possible that the highest supreme devil, or devils, may have more than one core. On my main account, I made a thread and have also made a video detailing the Espada-like growth devils may have within the underworld to attain more power and ascend to greater beings. So if you're not familiar with Bleach, definitely watch the Espada arc. Well, maybe not the whole arc if you just want the idea, but you got 3 months, so just watch the arc. But it talks about how they grow, and it's my favorite part of the Espada arc, because it shows like why they are the way they are. And Grimjow's story is super dope. Hari Bell's is super dope, and then you have Stark and Lily, which is my favorite one. But yeah, really interesting, and I think it's probably gonna happen here in Black Clover. So the idea here is almost the same, but the difference here is that instead of consuming other devils like food, like they do in Bleach, they just add a core to their being somehow, some way. Nama and Lilith being the lowest supreme. You know what? Now that I think about it, they might consume it as food. Because if we think about Hungry Joker, they had the apple. I forgot what it's called. But I mean, if you consume that, you got power. So yeah, maybe. Anyway, Nama and Lilith being the lowest supreme devils were not shown having a core at all. Not to say it's impossible for them to have had one, but Tabata has always been intentional about showing it to us. Then we have Megicula, who had a core in a third of her form, and was able to wield more than one attribute. So this part's kind of important, especially now knowing that Megicula was, I would say, unknown. We'll talk about it as a supreme devil. So this tells me that Megicula may actually have had up to 3 separate cores. One is now obviously destroyed, so Megicula would now be weakened to a third of what could have been her full power, or to 2/3 of what could have been her full power. Then looking at Beelzebub and Xenon's deal, it would make sense to me that Beelzebub didn't just arbitrarily turn Xenon's heart into that of a devil. It would also make sense to think that he didn't just make a core out of thin air, or there would be no real stake to the deal whatsoever. So I think it's plausible to think that a deal in which a core is exchanged for a soul is a high price for both parties, if not the highest price. So let's say Beelzebub does in fact have several cores. He would no longer have spatial magic, as that would have belonged to Xenon per their deal. But now Beelzebub gains a soul, but what is the use of a soul? Exactly what Megicula observed. It may allow him to gain the ability to unlock new spells and be able to bypass the static nature of the demonic condition. So while Beelzebub loses an attribute, he gains the humanistic trait of growing stronger, and maybe even possibly the attribute of the soul taken as implied by Megicula's use of Asier and Vonica's souls. So why would Adremelech take Lucifero's core? Because his allegiance is not with Lucifero. It is with Beelzebub, or even Lucius. Trust me, I've got so many videos planned just off of this. I know that we see that he's aligned with Lucius, but still, we can't ignore that he's part of the Order of the Fly. So I'll go on. His allegiance is with Beelzebub. All triadic devils except Beelzebub had a plan of individual descent, and the reason may be as simple as that the High Chancellor of Beelzebub's Order of the Fly would be getting released in time to be able to summon him in full form another way. Now, Adremelech had zero interest in killing humans or coming to Lucifero's aid. It may have been an opportunistic strategy to see if the humans... This was prior to the chapter, so it was not opportunistic now that we see this. So Adremelech essentially waited per Lucius's, plan, because it went all to Lucius's... it went the way he said it would, apparently. So he waited it out. And it's just so interesting. Sorry to stray away from the thread, but now reading this and applying it to what's going on now, it's just what's actually happening. Because Adremelech was making these comments of an ant can never beat an elephant, unless he meant that for Asta, but I really doubt it. He was very pessimistic, he was even telling people to run away, but maybe it was just we'll see if his plan comes to fruition, I guess, and then it did, and so he was surprised. That's quite the show, I guess. You have a human say okay, we're gonna do the Advent, all of my siblings are gonna get waxed, and then some science guy is gonna be contracted to Lucifero, and then he's gonna suck. He's gonna get waxed by some people in this moving base, and they won't be relevant for the whole thing after that, pretty much. But yeah, they're gonna do that, and then Lucifero's gonna come, and then the second seal's gonna open, and Adremelech's that's a lot to plan out. So I don't know, but I would be really surprised if I were Adremelech too. Okay, you were super right for a human. That's pretty good. So yeah, this was not a happy accident for the Order of the Fly. It was planned by Lucius, I guess. So now, of course, the next natural question would be, why doesn't Adremelech just take the core for himself if any of this stands true? This can be answered several ways. 1, pure loyalty to a true king. 2, a simple lack of want, as he does seem to not... He wants to be unbothered with anything stressful. And then 3, the devil he serves, Beelzebub, is powerful enough to kill him even with Lucifero's core and take both cores for himself, which doesn't seem worth the hassle at all. And for a certain level must be reached to be able to handle higher level cores. Third to me just seems the most likely in this case. So to end it, I want to flesh out why I even mentioned the magic channel. So someone at some point in time was powerful enough to seal all of these things away forever. So looking at a 50% Lucifero, assuming this is the real one, because you guys know me, a feat like this is literally out of this world, so why not just kill them? So I think this person or being understood their value in the way that without their presence or power, the physical realm would cease to exist. So instead, this elaborate channel was created to drain their magic and shovel it into the physical realm so that things like fire, ice, gravity, space, time are all allowed to exist. So seeing that devils in lore have always wanted to move their battle against heaven to earth, they would still need the cores to maintain the balance. However, them living in the physical realm gives them the ability to offset the balance of whatever attribute they have the rule over. So while devils may be able to be killed, it is probably not in anyone's best interest except maybe angels, which is an entirely different conversation that I would like to have in a separate video. So that's kind of my thoughts on the cores. Now, what's interesting upon reading this is that we now know that Astaroth has been missing for 20 years. Now, if you're on the up and up in science, this has been common knowledge for, I don't know, forever, I guess. Time is a man-made thing. It's a concept. So it means it doesn't actually exist, but man allows it to exist. However, events A, B, C, D, and E happen all the time, and we can order those events, but that is not time. It's just an order of events. So it's interesting that the devil of time has been out for 20 years. And if the magic channel is used to drain magic from the devils to put it into the physical realm, it's very interesting how that played out, I guess. But yeah, let me look at the chat. I'm losing it. So Iqbal, Lucius Marks looks like his son. What if he's attracting Yuno's father's son magic and now trying to attract Lucy magic? I'll circle back around to that. That's a bigger discussion. Imagine Lucius was responsible for Zagrid. Yeah. I mean, he was going to go somewhere, right? And that's probably where he was going to go. It's just a matter of... Yeah, I got to reread it because there's something else happening. Lucifero was aware of Zagrid. Okay. Because I'm really trying to make sense of Zagrid and where he fits. And I keep saying it, but he's going to be so valuable. His story, from beginning to end, is going to be the most valuable thing we get. And in this case, what I'm thinking is that Lucius may have been able to, let's say he has some type of that astral projection magic or soul magic, for lack of better terms. If he pulls out Zagrid's essence from his demonic being, then he would be able to take on that form that we saw him in, that he was able to manipulate the elves in, and then summon the Shadow Palace and summon himself, then to go, I guess, maybe either to the Triad or to Julius himself, which would be interesting. Anyway, Astaroth escaped the underworld, but without his body, just like Zagrid and met Lucius. That could be possible, actually. Yeah, I'd have to think about that one. Jack, do you think Lucius could be trying to gain gravity, time, and space magic? Yes, that's what I'm alluding to in this thread here. Yeah, I sent it to you. Probably talking about that picture. Am I the only one worried that is we have a Supreme Devil out of the underworld possible at 100% power and we barely won against the 50% one? So yeah, someone else made that comment on Twitter, and I find it very unlikely that Astaroth is in 100% form because we would notice for sure. We would absolutely notice. So we do have to remember that Julius started storing time when he found the swallowtail that was left behind. And it's not the same swallowtail that was used in the fight against Licht. So there were more productions of swallowtails that we just didn't know of for some reason. And what I'm thinking is that Astaroth either intentionally made his escape into the swallowtail or someone had sealed Astaroth within the swallowtail to maybe be found later, and that maybe that was Lucius. Who knows? But I think it's an important note that it's the potential of Astaroth being within that swallowtail is pretty high, and from there, Julius, the real Julius, made a consensual contract with Astaroth to obtain his power. Okay. How old could Lucius be, assuming he could have a greater control over time following better abilities? Could he rewind his own time and his siblings, keeping them young forever, aka undying bodies? So with that, that was it was part of the last part when I talk about Lucius being the Antichrist and what that means in the Jungian archetype of being the shadow self. The Antichrist can exist simultaneously throughout time. So, some notable Antichrists in history were people like Genghis Khan, Hitler, Napoleon, people like them, all spread out throughout different parts of time and history. But the idea here is that they exist simultaneously to, while separately, kind of destroy the civilization. They also do this in tandem because time is a straight line. So while there's no end to time, and that's the whole point to like Julius's grimoire as well. There's no beginning or end to time, but events keep happening. So it's a matter of perspective, is what comes from like what ends. So death does not signify an end. It is just how we view it from our perspective of life. I feel like this last advent was still due to him, and it's still possibly happening. So there's going to be some stuff going on, and I think it's going to involve Beelzebub or even Xenon, if and when he comes back somehow, some way. Don't ask me, I don't know. To combat the Time Devil, it's not Astaroth. I think that's the evil one here. So what I'm really implying is that Julius, being overall good, makes a contract with Astaroth, and Lucius may have come a bit later, after he found that. And so, unbeknownst to Lucius and Astaroth at this point, but Lucius would be able to use Astaroth's magic because the contract was made through that body. So that's at least what I'm thinking, and he's forcefully using Astaroth. So Astaroth is not a consensual party in this case. We're dead. I mean, yeah. I thought it looks like some devils seem to have hearts and others don't. I mean, that is kind of what it looks like. But as far as our understanding, all Supreme Devils should have a core. So it's interesting that we didn't see one for Lilith or Nama, and not even in their combined form. So we've got to know how any of that is done at all. Oh, good Lord. Why? I don't love any series this much. I'm going to tell you that right now. Especially not One Piece. Cool, though. It's really good work. Jeez. Okay, let me get back. We know that mana can create monsters of ice and fire and wild gates and flames. Are you talking about like Mereoleona, like becoming just more than human from drawing too close to mana? King DJ, is there a way we could get Julius back, or do you think Julius is gone forever? So that's a great question that I did want to address this stream. So I think so. In that last video that I just premiered, we talk about how the Jungian shadow doesn't have to be negative or evil; it can also be positive and good. So while Lucius is now in complete control, is what it seems, I think Julius can still operate in a way that Lucius might have been operating before, where it's just like little glimpses of him. So now Lucius's plan is finally, it's seeming like it's coming together and it's reaching an end phase, where Julius, being a smart guy, could manipulate the situation his own way and setting these traps, if you will. So what I'm now thinking is that Julius, with Osteroth's help, could have been setting up these things like Asta and maybe even to be able to create a very hard stop to Lucius's plan. Because we see how effective anti-magic is against any devil. And keeps pulling out these stops to become like, another devil killer out here. And then we have Noel, and Noel could even be a part of this. So then we have to wonder, like, we have the scene in the dungeon where Asta finds that demon dweller's sword. And Asta is literally about to die due to Mars, and time stops. For everyone except for and Belle. So a lot of us were thinking like that was probably due to Belle awakening, but it hadn't happened since, and that was really the only time we got close to any of them really actually dying, and without any help being on the way. Like if Asta, if that sword connected with Asta, it was done. There's nothing Mimosa could have done in that current state to bring him back, and they were way too far from the Clover Kingdom to even be able to think of getting him to what's his name, Mark? Forgot his name. The healer, the water healer. So if he had died, it would have been a wrap right then and there. But time stopped conveniently, so that was able to attain that power, and then use it to save Asta at the very last possible second. So I think these guys are essentially battling throughout time now, unbeknownst to one another at this point, because Lucius would now not know that Julius still exists while he's still slipping through the cracks. So this could be a really mind-bending, trippy thing, and Julius could still pull out to be like this crazy hero. And what would make it really interesting is that Asta and look up to Julius, and they all want to be Wizard King. They all wanted to be Wizard King in Julius's case, right? And then to come together and finally beat like the biggest evil the world has ever seen would put them all, in that position where, we are Wizard Kings. Like we do this for a living. So it's another type of battle. It's a mental and physical struggle and spiritual. And if Tabata can write something like this, which I fully believe he can, my lord, what a series this is about to be. Heartless Devils are created by negative mana. That seems to be like the case. I think Liabe said it was something like the misdeeds of humans or something like that. Hi, Shelley. Trayvon, by taking Morgan's soul, because in all honesty, Morgan dropping dead is one of the most questionable things ever. Right. So I've been looking at that series of events for a while, and my point of view for right now is that Lucy, what is this? Austin, I'm your... Thank you. This can't happen. It very well might happen, but I hope this is... Oh, wait, what? This is my dumbass brat? You got that? Yeah, Yami's the real dad of Asta, and you give back my Julius or I'm going to beat your ass. Facts. Yeah, I hope Lucius doesn't really turn out to be Asta's dad, but it might happen, let's be honest. Let me get back to the question, though. What was it? I don't think it's there anymore. Oh, yeah. Morgan dropping dead. Yeah. I've been looking back at that for a minute now, and I don't have any real, answer as to why that happened. Everything else around it, I do feel like I have a bit of an answer for. So like, okay, um, everyone turning and just like becoming dark mist or whatever. Goes back to like the that video talking about the conscious and unconscious mind of the world, and I think it's it could have had to do with the fact that these people are not necessarily like, I don't want to say they're not not real, but they're not actually human in the way that everyone else would be human. I think there are several characters that were put here by the population of the world. And I think that's as best as I can say it without giving too much away. Yeah. But Noct and Morgan were the products to create something closer to not an undying body, but a better host for a bigger devil, because they need more Supremes on their side. So to create this, I'm assuming they were trying to amass an army of hosts that could host the Supreme Devil and all that for whatever end that would be for. And Noct seemed to have this talent for it, which would mean Morgan would also have some type of talent for this as well. And maybe the fatal factor in this was just the fact that they had become twins instead of one being. So that's what I'm looking at it as. And if we take Noct and Morgan, Noct has shadow magic, which is not dark magic, and it's not exactly your attack magic. It's really like a support transportation magic. And then we have Morgan's light magic, which we still don't know anything about. But I think it's safe to say that it's another type of light. And if they were one being, it would create what we were just talking about, somewhat of a negative light, this UV-like light. So, and I'm still kind of pushing an ashen light, which is reflected moonlight, which I think would make sense because moons seem to be increasingly important in this series, as are suns. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that they were, I don't want to say experiments, but somehow they were able to make real human beings, and they became, like I said, became twins, and the plan kind of folded in on itself, and he's not able to contract with the supreme deity. So that's what I'm thinking for right now. Both Lucius and Patry needed William. What a guy. Yeah. Everyone needs, anyone that's trying to connect another world to this one needs William. But not what a guy. He sucks. He's awful. Let's see. I don't think Lucius is going to be an evil type of antagonist, but a very charming and reasonable one that, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I think it makes sense. There's Jack Clover talking about how the Eye of the Midnight Sun might be able to kind of save people in a sense in this final saga. So I had made this Jack Clover talking about how this other gate will open, and if a devil comes out with illusion magic, they would cast this illusion where people think that this being is like a really cool ruler, this benevolent, very nice person. In reality, they're not. They're a devil, and they mean nothing but harm. And I think that's what could be happening here. I mean, it's what has been happening for quite a while. But the reason why I brought the Eye of the Midnight Sun into it is just because they had died, and when Roddy's brought them back, Sally says something along the lines of, "I can see things that I was not able to see when I was alive." Which means like she might be seeing like sylphs and fire spirits, things like that, out in nature as they really are on that plane of existence. So if they come back and he goes back to like Julius's form while remaining Lucius, they might see him for who he really is, which would make them outcasts once again, because naturally someone would want to expose a fraud for a fraud as they are. So if they can see the real one, then there'd probably be an attempt on their life for sure. But then again, that outcasts them and kind of puts the cyclical spin on everything because they're right back where they started, except they'd amass a crew like Asta, maybe maybe Noel as well. There's so much room for very interesting things to happen, but I do think you make a lot of sense, Dylan. Do you think Lucius kept going back in time and Dremelech was immune to that? So he went back in time, and that's why he was bored because he saw maybe actually that's a cool point. Yeah, maybe that's why he was bored because the clock thing, by the way, and this is what I mean. Whoever was asking like, how does it feel to have all of my theories confirmed? They're not, and that was one of them. Like I was so totally against the clock theory, and it looks like it was resetting this entire time. So maybe that is why Adrenaline was born, or not born, but bored. Is because he had to watch the shit all over again. Like, how many times do they need to get stomped out before, like, we get it? Like, it's not going to happen. That's a really cool point. Yeah, YouTube. Any limits on characters is so frustrating. I get that. Whose heart is in Yami? Is it Lucifugus or maybe Lucifero's real heart? So, it would be cool if it's Lucifugus. I don't think it has anything to do with Lucifero, really. What I think would be cool is if that is a heart of his own. So while we would have lost one really big Supreme Devil's heart, Beelzebub's, one was made in this, at least one, and we just have to assume that William doesn't have one. So that's the next part that is going to be kind of interesting. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but I would rather that be his own heart, and then have a slow turn into a Supreme Devil as he keeps using that sword, which again I think is so stupid that he wants to keep using, because William's magic and his magic combined got us into this whole thing. So I think it could work against him in the long run if he becomes a devil, but who knows? Maybe he'll still have a sense of self, which could really give us an edge in the long run. So, what do you think of Yuno's reaction to his mom? It seems, I mean, that's how I would look. And I posted this, but I really didn't like how, now looking back, Noct really tried to make him look like a bad guy in the captain's meeting. As if he didn't know who the fuck Yuno was. Like, it made no sense. And it really, really, really makes me question Noct's agenda. And I know we were fighting alongside him this whole time, but we can also see that in the same light, we can say that the people who were fighting against Lucifero were working for Lucius, but he was just using them. But I think Noct intentionally left out information. Not think, I know. Because even his own father said that the three devils in the underworld have space, time, and gravity. Knowing good and damn well, time was gone. It was not there anymore. So, what is the whole deal? When he was giving them the whole, the rundown of everything, never mentioned, hey, Osteroth is gone. Like, no, none of that. There's nothing going on with this. And when he should have known more than Damnatio, and it seemed like Damnatio, what was this, like a month, not even a month later, let's just say like a week or two, removed from this whole Spade arc, did just a bit of digging, was like, oh, Osteroth isn't even there anymore. He hasn't been there for a while. So what's the deal with this? And at that age, Osteroth would have still been gone. So it really doesn't make any sense. But as far as Yuno goes, there's something going on with the Spade Resistance. I think they are on board with the Undying Bodies agenda. Yeah, I think it's going to get really complicated for Yuno. Where, kind of like Asta's mom, like, loves him in and out, regardless of having met him. I think Yuno's mom is going to show a bit of darkness that Yuno is not expecting, and that could affect him I think a lot's going to happen with Austin, just in general, knowing that, seeing, depending on when they find out, Julius is now Lucius. They're now going to be looked at as like, or look at that as them being lied to by someone they really, really, really admired. This is not like a father figure or anything. This is almost like a god for them. And that whole thing was a lie. And they used them to get devils out of the way so that he was able to come into power. And I think that's really going to hurt them. So now imagine, has literally buried half of his squad, literally buried them, came close to death himself, watched his comrades almost die against Xenon, and then watched the captains that they all looked up to get completely outclassed by one devil, not even at full power. I mean, this is going to take a massive toll. And then his mom having a potential, partial nature to darkness might put him over the edge. It's like, who can I really trust here? And that's going to be really sad. Oh no, that's going to be hentai. I know it. I gotta scroll. Oh, it wasn't good. Okay. Go like the vid. Thanks, Minato. Shelly, like Yami's country, dwarves, angels, gods, goddesses, heaven, and the underworld. I really hope that the series will end in the cliffhanger where Asta is trapped in the underworld. That'd be a cool cliffhanger. That's kind of like the show Lucifer, where he ends up being, like he has to go back and ruling the underworld, and he doesn't want to be there, but he knows he kind of has to be. But he kind of ends up changing hell for the better. So, hey Jack, I heard this interesting rumor on Reddit that's mind-blowing and will fit one of old theories. Nice. Reddit's what I hear, just a big old clusterfuck of just people saying stuff. I've never traversed Reddit. I missed your Twitter space when the leaks dropped. Did I miss anything significant that you talked about? Nothing that I'm not going to cover here. If anything, it was less fleshed out than anything that I'm going to say or will say. So, no, not really. It was just nice chopping it up with a few people, like Mello. Oblivion was there. Kurai. Christopher Lane was there. Like, really, really cool. Just chill space to talk about everything. I used to think Julius's family magic was time magic, based on his last name translating into something with the word time. Yeah, that was always interesting. As far as we know, we can't really say Julius had a family. Remember, he was he was talking about, kind of wandering around with that one page of his grimoire. Like, what do I do? Like, what is my purpose? To me, what that seems like is kind of what we were talking about earlier. Like, I think he's one of those characters that was born out of the unconscious necessity of the world. And like I said, there's going to be more characters that I list under that. If you guys ever watch Eureka 7, you know exactly the rub I'm taking with this. There's a consciousness to the world itself, and the world is going to do whatever it takes to make sure that it stays alive. And that could fall into the whole Earth spirit thing too. So this, we're really about to get some really big drops on what's happening in this universe, and it could be that this Earth spirit is a solo entity able to create these beings that act as white blood cells, if you will, to eradicate any type of cancerous things that might end up plaguing the world later on. What is IBS magic? IB shaken? I don't know. That was whack. New Supreme Devil with toilet magic. Ooh, that's Belphegor though. So, Jack. So what do you say is Beelzebub gave Xenon is real hot? Oh yeah, that is what I'm saying. I don't think I covered that in that thread, but yes, what I'm alluding to is that Beelzebub has several cores here. So when and if Beelzebub does come into full form, he's not going to have spatial magic anymore because that heart is gone. instead what he'll have, or whatever the other cores that he has. That's what I'm taking from this, and I think that could be really cool. And like I said, while it's a high price, it's not a super steep price for a devil like Beelzebub, and it would stop someone like, let's say, Dramelech, or Zagrid. Let's say Zagrid. He would be less likely to make that deal because he would be losing his magic. And then while we're talking about cores, I think it's also important to start realizing that Zagrid did show two different types of magic in a way. So his word magic was one thing, but when he obtained the Grimoire, his magic definitely changed. He was able to summon things, like directly from the underworld, which is really peculiar, because that doesn't really fit under like word magic. It's just a little odd. So all I'm saying is that there might be an actual attribute to every single devil. But what they need is that Grimoire. But I don't know. It's still just speculation. But what is this? A 3x3 panel of what? 3x3 PFPs with the absolute worst stakes? Oh. Okay, I don't know any of these PFPs. So that's good. I'm glad I'm not up there. Goodness. Okay. Let's see. What does this say? Quiero solamente recalcar que está pelea. I don't know what it says. I literally typed in hashtag BC spoilers, did I not? Oh, I didn't. I had to switch over. I was so confused. Like, why am I just seeing like random stuff? My bad. Eardo Battle Syndrome. Okay, good. Yeah, that's still Belphegor though. Will Lucius resurrect the Triad? I believe so. If so, it's not Xenon who will rise, but Beelzebub, and Lucius doesn't know that. That could definitely be the case there. That'd be really cool. But I do hope Xenon does exist in some way. And if anything, it seems that Beelzebub and Xenon were very, very close. Like, very close. To me, it seems that Beelzebub really wanted Xenon to really find out who he was, and I harp on this a lot. Like, that's Beelzebub's job, is to bring the mage to their true self, and Xenon really didn't find it. And when he was giving up his heart for, to fight against it's knowing that is who Xenon could be if he just realized himself and stopped being a coward. I think it was more frustrating than anything because he lost his smile. And I think that was then he knew that possibly he wasn't able to successfully bring Xenon to where he should have been, which would look more like what does. So if he comes back, I think how Xenon viewed Alan and how he kept Alan inside of him this whole time, this is how he'll view Xenon. As someone he wished he could have saved but could not in the end, and had a hand in his downfall by giving him his heart, as Xenon had a hand in Alan's downfall by piercing through him to get to that devil. So I think Beelzebub is going to be a really cool story. I really don't want him to be like evil. He's really been laying in the cut. He did not express any want to get out immediately. Like I've been saying, he's the only one that did not have a plan of individual descent. So I'm really hoping he does come back as Xenon, if Xenon himself doesn't come back, which would make sense that Xenon doesn't come back. But to take on Xenon-like traits, because Xenon was a very, very good person at the very core of him. He was just very lost, and he was set up for failure. So that's what made him lose. Again, very, very cool stories can come out of this. We just got to wait and see. How do you think the final arc will play out? A full-on every kingdom versus all the devils battle, or a more focused attack against Lucius and Sagrada siblings if revived? That's a good question. So, to put it into perspective, Lucius literally runs everything, somehow. So we have the Clover Kingdom that he directly oversees. The Spade Kingdom was run by Dante. The diamond was decimated by Xenon. It's not ruled really by anyone, but to have Morris there, well, how long was Morris with the Triad? I guess we can't really count the diamond, but the fact that they're just pretty much gone is just like, they don't really matter. Then the Heart Kingdom was being ransacked and terrorized by Megicula, which is another thing. Is, the whole fact, number one, we've got to go back. Like, now it makes sense. And this is one of those things I was trying to get, I had very few followers back in the day, so it makes sense, why I never gained traction. But, I was trying to put it out there, we can't just let it slide that Dante, Xenon, and Vonica seamlessly found the Black Bulls base, who were exiled, who were God knows where, and then the Golden Dawn base. How is it that there were no safety parameters set in place so that if one base is attacked, there's not another base that can come in and help? It made no sense as to why things went down the way they did. Then there was a captain's meeting, and all captains were invited except for William. How did that work out so perfectly? And then with Yami not there, it's definitely more feasible to just, run amok out in the middle of nowhere, right, when he comes back from this. So, and to weaken his squad mates as well, makes a whole lot of sense. And then the biggest, most unexplained feat so far is getting into the Heart Kingdom. Remember, the only people allowed in are the ones that Lolo Pechka and Undine allow inside. So how did she get in? 2 times. Or was it 2? Yeah, it was 2 times. How? So that means Lolo Pechka had to have let her in somehow. So she's back on my sus list. And the fact that her and Julius were close puts her way on my sus list. Because it doesn't matter if Lucius knew, this is, if you take a left here, right there, it doesn't matter. We saw how it works. They can't get through to the Heart Kingdom. That's exactly what makes them safe. But 2 times, Vonica was able to get through, and the second time she was able to bring people with her. This makes no sense. Everyone is in question right now. So what I'm saying to your question is that it's going to come down to a very small group of people trying to fight throughout time and possibly even space. And they're going to need a devil on their side. They're going to need angels and gods if they exist. Black Sun plus Moon is Star. So this is something WK and I have been messaging each other about. So I guess it is a good time to start talking about Lucius's symbol. This is going to be part of the next video, so there's going to be some slight spoilers for the concept that I'm going to be talking about. So this sign, there's a variety of things that could be happening here, but there's some really interesting things that's being implied. So number one, it's obviously a sun. It's black. Now, if you've been following this channel or just me in general for a while, you know that the black sun is attributed to Belphegor and Kiowa, which are right dead center of the Clipot. Now, I'm not saying this is Belphegor or Kiowa in this sense, but what is non-negotiable is that the black sun is absolutely associated with the Antichrist. That is absolutely non-negotiable. And the Antichrist is always in the middle of the Clipot. So that's really all I'm saying on that front. This is pretty much Antichrist confirmed. Another thing, though, is that this is the alchemical sign for gold. So for alchemy, the goal of alchemy was to be able to take any metal and convert it into gold. And this is kind of what I was talking about when I was trying to clarify, what is natural, what is unnatural. So while, let's say, copper is natural and gold is also natural, to make copper into gold is going to take some unnatural processes so that we do get gold, but the process it took to get there was wildly unnatural. And this is a feat that is, I guess, is still kind of going on today. It's just one of those things, and it's just labeled science now. And back then, it was very occult to do stuff like this. So what I'm saying is that gold is the pinnacle, and this also goes into the revival of the soul. and all of that good stuff and the rebirth. So that sign tells me that Lucius succeeded in an undying body. Is what it tells me. Now, to get into like another way this can work out is that this is a solar symbol, and since it's black, we have to assume that it belongs to a devil. And if it does, I would say it's possible that it belongs to Adremelech, and that he might have been contracted to Adremelech prior to this. And the reason I say that is because we do see him initially in a very sickly state, and if we know anything about Adremelech, we know that his realm is Samael, which is the poison or venom of God, and it would make sense if his power were to run too rampant, that his body would deteriorate. That's just what poison and venom do. So, and it would make sense as to why Adremelech and him have any contact whatsoever. And now to go to Adremelech, he's a solar deity. Before he fell, he was a solar god, known as the Magnificent King. So the sun could mean several things, but I think the alchemical one makes a lot more sense, just given the whole Lucius thing. But then there's also the fact that Adremelech, when he speaks, not to say that speech bubbles for devils really mean much, because they kind of don't. But Adremelech's, for right now, it seems like it's melting. So the sun thing might be a whole thing. That's really all I'm going to say without getting into too much depth. But what that signifies is that I think Lucius has at least achieved his own undying body. But yeah, sun in black, the black sun part is really alluding to, being the perfect product of what would be an undying body. So let's look at we'll call it soul play on just characters throughout the series, right? We've got right now, let's start from beginning to end. We had William and Patri, who were two separate souls using two different grimoires and two different magic types, but they knew of each other. So we had that. And then we had, that's a really good coloring, Donna, of course, back at it. We'll talk about this too. Ooh, that's Mick. We gotta see what he's saying. But, what was I saying? Sorry. Shit, I lost it. I lost what I was saying. Someone remind me and we'll get back to it. I just wanted to read what Mick was saying. God damn it, dude. I have the mind of a squirrel. Anyway. I've been wondering if that's the reason for Lucius. Oh, sorry, soul play. Okay, sorry. I'm looking at the time because we've got a game that I've got to be there for today. So my mind's everywhere right now. So soul play. We got William. The next one is we've got right? So has two souls, but they're one soul, and it was almost like a dormant thing for a long time up until he was about to die in the Spade Kingdom. And then he was able to realize his own soul and his own self and gained another attribute. So now he's got two grimoires. Now let's backtrack a bit. Now, while this isn't soul play, this is grimoire play. We have Mars, who Morris took half of his grimoire and combined it with Fauna to create a more complete soldier. So there's been this idea somehow people know that the perfect being is going to have more than one soul, and people might have been confusing it with like attribute or grimoire. It's the soul that matters. So now has a human soul, while he also has this hybrid elf soul, and they're mashed into one. So like he's completely different. And if you ask me, which I'm forcing you to ask me now, so I'm going to answer, is is an undying body currently right now, and this is the pinnacle of humanity that we're seeing, and all he's missing is a devil. So it's going to look very, very interesting from here on out for that. And then now we have Julius and Lucius, where Lucius has now been able to override Julius's soul, and I'm going to go on record in saying that Julius is still there, and he has two souls within him as well, and he might be able to delve into the magic that Julius has, which might be transformation magic, as a lot of people are speculating right now. Time magic via Astaroth and that forced contract now. Adremelex magic, if that sun does signify that, really, like, come on, fix your car. Like, turn it off. What are you doing? Okay, there we go. They heard me. So, and then, if that sun does signify that he's been contracted with Adremelex, then that gives him another magic type. And then Lucius' own. So, like I said in the beginning, this could be up to 4 magic types that we're looking at. And again, completely unprecedented. Yeah, so I hope that answered that, or not answer that question, but that's kind of what the next video is going to be about. But I'm breaking it down into several things. The next one is just talking about like what that symbol means in the alchemical process, and a bit of mythology, and I might include what Adremelex has to do with that, because in just one panel that absolutely 0 people that I've seen have talked about it, it was missed and thrown to the wayside because we were so angry at how things happened. So I'm going to take advantage of that. So Mick, the goat, I've been wondering if that's the reason for Lucius wanting to remake humanity with undying bodies. He survived the first attack and met Astaroth. Looking at his grimoire, it could have been when kingdoms were not separated. That's a really cool idea. So at first I was like, what are you guys talking about? And then I think I don't know who it was. Someone like outlined, like, okay, there's obviously a heart within the spade. That's undeniable. I can see the 4-leaf clover. And I was like, diamond. But if you connect, that point where the spade is behind this spade, then this inside would create a diamond. And I was like, whoa, mind blown. And that's a really cool idea. Like, when the kingdoms were together, this is what grimoires could have looked like. And that's interesting. Now, I'm taking this, and I'm going to be mashing it with the theory that I just made, where this is the result of a collective unconscious. So this is something that the world unconsciously thought they needed, and or the dark part of this, if you will. So there's going to be like a light part of what the world needs, and then a dark part of what the world needs. So if that's the case, then this completely embodies all of the nation's thoughts into one person. So I'm really, really curious to see what he's got. But also, off the note of that specific insignia, the grimoire design kind of shows me all the elements of the triad, where like these look like they could be bones to me, and like rapiers, the swords, and we know that Xenon had the halberds on his grimoire. Then just like the basic like this border around the first, like around these swords and the insignia, kind of remind me of Dante's grimoire, where I still kind of stand on that he didn't actually really have like body magic. His grimoire looks like Nox's father's, and I keep saying it, but it just makes Nox more sus. Like I just don't. People, they love him too much. Like, I guess he's just too pretty for people to be like, oh, like, I'm not going to think he's sus. I don't know what's going on with that. And then these little spots outside of varying sizes reminds me of Vonnika's blood spatter. So he could, where we thought of him as the collective, or where I thought at least, when the Force of Goddess was, when it first came out, where I thought they could have manifested him together, where he wouldn't have been necessarily physical, where now he is now physical, but now they are the less conscious part of him, and they are now all together in that one body. So if he pulls up with body, bone, and blood magic on top of his own magic, whew, this will get nuts. But yeah, that was a cool idea by Mick, by the way. That was awesome. Retweet. I got to retweet. That's a good idea. With Zagreus summoning things from the underworld, I was thinking Beelzebub could draw a portal directly to the underworld. Yeah. Broku and I talked about this part together on his channel. Zagreus seemed to have that ability that may have come from Beelzebub. I would just say go watch that video. We did talk about that though. Southwind. I've never seen you before. Welcome. Julius Death has show some transformation magic like some old woman and the bartender. He took the form of a bartender? I didn't remember that. Is that anime only? I don't really watch the anime like that. I remember the old woman, of course. Because that old woman looks like one of the prior Wizard Kings. So, yeah. Yeah, it could be transformation magic. Because that's not explained. But that was also something I brought up in the last live. Is like, or no, that was something that I brought up in the space when these chapter leaks dropped out. We now have to question Raya. Because he did the same exact thing. There was a captain's meeting called, and it happened to have been in a time that Patri was in control of William's body. And he transformed into William, and when he walked out of the captain's meeting, he releases that transformation, and we see it's Raya. And he kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit, which is cool. And he says that should hold them over for now, as far as them being suspicious of William. And that was the one where William was late to that meeting. But there was no key signature picked up on him at all, which means there was a full-on change on like who he was. So it's like we have to question, like, is Raya actually disloyal now? You know, it just brings so many questions, and then we have to question like whose grimoire would he have touched to be able to do that? So there's a lot of questions this all just brings up. Samir, I'm definitely interested in Beelzebub's personality. It would be awesome if he kept his end on their contract for helping the Spade Kingdom even after. Well, we see that there's still hope for them. Like the resistance is there. We have Yuno. I think part of that stipulation is that Yuno is still alive. Period. It's exactly what it is. And then if we want to get real technical, like Beelzebub, if he got sad over anything. Remember, Xenon's stipulation was that he wanted to make sure that the citizens of the Spade would still the Spade would still exist. Period. And so with that stipulation, it comes with be careful what you wish for, because now Xenon is no longer part of that alliance where Spade is now like the first priority. He is now a direct threat. Giving up his own altruistic soul for a devil heart. And we saw towards the end that Xenon was shifting in character entirely. He was saying, like, I just want to kill you, to Yuno. But when he made that deal, that's when Xenon shifted. He blew Yuno into, like, 1991 into the next room, and then he obtained a second grimoire. So a lot of things could have been manipulated in just those few seconds or few minutes of that contract being made, and Beelzebub knowing that this guy is what's going to keep the Spade safe. So there's still a lot of hope for the Spade. And Beelzebub, now, especially if that Lucifero was the top guy, and just assuming there is no Moloch, I'm not saying there is no Moloch, I think there is, but let's just say there is no Moloch, then Beelzebub is now in control. So he's got the final say in everything. I do think that Lucius will want to not only bring undying bodies, he will want to unify the kingdoms. So that's okay. Good point, Dylan, because that's part of what comes with being the Antichrist. The Antichrist is synonymous with a one world order, and it's believed that once we get a one world order, that is when the Antichrist strikes. and goes into full effect because it is easier to manipulate people as a unit than they are separately, because people have different ways of running things, and we see this day to day. Like between, if you live in the U.S., we're divided by states that have different laws. So it's if they were all just one flat state governed by the same laws, then it's much easier to control the people of it. And we see this is how we get all these political debates and all these separating ideals, is because of this system of separation between states and still having a president that runs over all of the states that still have different laws. So again, the Antichrist is really synonymous with creating that system, and that could very well happen with the diamond out of capacity, the heart needing more protection, and then the spade just being the spade. Like it's very easy for him to do that, and that's probably what's going to happen, to be honest with you. So that, yeah, good point. Let's see. Dylan again. Astaroth, the sole ruler of the underworld, while having Beelzebub and Lucifer. This is magic. I would tell you that I don't really like the idea of Astaroth being the head of hell, because Astaroth, even in lore, doesn't want to be in hell, because they don't belong there. But it's about a story, and we already see he can already do some interesting things. So we'll see if that can be a thing. Shelley, I really hope we will get mini arcs within the massive arc. I would hate to see it end with plot holes that were left unanswered. Well, we don't have any so far, so I don't think you have to worry about anything. Dylan again. That Julius and Godra fight looks different now on. Yeah, way different. But again, it goes back to what I was saying about Lolo being sus. Like, if that was due to a devil, and they knew that devil was Lucius, or not Lucius, but Julius, and they were in cahoots, it explains why Vonnegut was able to get in, and now it's obvious that Lucius has hands in every single nation already. You're saying Vonnegut could destroy the barrier. That's possible with Decaying World, for sure. I need this fight to happen. Lucius versus Yami and William combine magic, black magic, world tree, the tree of clip. What? Lucius versus Yami and William combine magic. Okay. All right. Sorry. Want to read chapter 146 again? Julius says, "The new future I'll build with you. If Lucius isn't evil and is just ready to do whatever is necessary for his future." I'm not sure what you're getting at. Yeah, not sure what you're getting at. If I remember, Vonnegut broke the barrier. Did she break the barrier? Maybe she did. I'm probably getting that all mixed up. Okay, but still, you guys, whether or not she broke the barrier, we're still missing this. Is that they had an encounter with her, and they didn't do anything to alert anybody. That is the biggest red flag. Like, regardless of whether or not they knew, like, there was a bigger disastrous plan happening, the fact that a devil-possessed woman walked up into your kingdom knowing, like, how strong Lolo Pechka is in that barrier with Undine, maybe reach out and be like, "Yo, Julius, we're cool, right? So there's this devil-possessed woman, just going about. We might need some help, because we already know arcane stage mages are the only ones that can get rid of this problem, and we have none." So and if anything, we have to chalk it up to shitty leadership. I remember getting into full-on arguments on Twitter about this. Like, people hated it when I said it, but it's true. It either comes down to she's sus, or it's a lack of leadership. That's all it comes down to. Iqbal, I'm more excited to know what Beelzebub's agenda is rather than the two. Same. It's obviously there. It's always the quiet one. Again, that was another source of people wanting to argue with me. I always knew Xenon was going to be the biggest issue within the triad, and people were like, "Well, why? Because he's just quiet." They're like, "Yeah, because he's the quiet one." That's always the trope. And Beelzebub again has said under 10 words this entire arc. If that doesn't say scary to anybody else, I don't know what should. And here we are, impressed by Dante, and because he's able to give a slightly intelligent speech to Asta. No, It was always Xenon. Please read chapters 146 and 310 quickly. They both talk about building a peaceful kingdom. Okay. Noct is. Let me get through this really quick. Noct is just like Julius. We like characters too much to suspect. Right. D2. Ciel has to be Eos here. Her being the mother of Phosphorus, and Hesper's Xenon. So you're saying that Ciel birthed Xenon? Both have different dads. Austrius as Lois and Cephalus as Lucius would explain why Xenon looks like the fourth. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I see what you're saying. And it does fit the... No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So, like, I get what you're saying as far as, like, bloodlines go and all that stuff, but the Hesperus for Xenon part doesn't make sense because Phosphorus and Hesperus better fit Austin, and not Xenon, and But I see what you're saying, and I think that is possible. I just think the background information might be a little off. There might be something else there, though. I think you're onto something. Southwind. Everyone presumed it was William and Charlotte curses that showed in dinner at Agrippa's family. So I remember looking at that. Someone posted that again, and I don't even remember reading that part. But yeah, obvious. Tabata put it right in our face that it was Julius with the massive demonic presence that had to have been Osteroth. Adremelech and Marx. Yeah, Marx is in on this for sure, because, yeah, there's no way you can't be. There's got to be a vetting process for Wizard Kings. You can't just let someone walk in there that has gained merit or is very strong. Like, they have to actually have good intentions, and Marx has the ability to delve into their minds to see whether or not they do. And I would have to assume, again, if it was me running this place, Marx would be my guy to be like, you are vetting every single wizard queen or queen that there is and ever will be, because we can't just have people walking in here like a revolving door. Okay, and the time starts to move. Does this title of the chapter relate to the moment before the watch panel before Damnatia? Maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking Lucida could be Astaroth's former host. That'd be interesting. Xenon realizing that it's not because he's weak that Alan died. It's just because he's a coward, right? Marx and Owen immediately went on my sus list. What I don't know about Owen. That's the one I could remember. I called him Mark. Yeah, I don't know about Owen. I think he's fine. He's just one of those characters. Like, he's there. Okay. I just want to see what Zaldonix is talking about. So 146 and 310. I don't off the top of my head remember what 146 is, but I'm gonna skim through it here on my phone. You say 146? Yeah. Okay, so 146 is... I'm at the end of that. Okay, so this is Patri and Yami. Oh, so this is fresh off of Julius's death. I'm lit. William's asleep right now. You better be ready to die. Master Julius can't be. This isn't happening. So Marx is shocked that Julius is dead, or dying in this case. Medic, go call Owen, you moron, stat. Yeah. This man is dying. It says Patri. He protected the humans of this country to the very end. Yeah. Okay. What am I supposed to be looking for? Never again. Okay, we know Patri, whatever. Dark cloaked, he missed. Okay, so Julius is saying his final words. That spell was amazing, cutting space. Like, this is the time for stuff like that. You really did become an incredible magic knight. Look, I keep telling you I'm 28 already. I'm not a kid anymore. That's good to hear. Also, this whole, like, being enthused by magic. Maybe Julius and Raya have this thing in I don't know. Like, it seems like enthused by it because like he's able to use different types of magic. But I don't know. Like I don't know where to go with that. But if Lucius is able to astral project himself into different bodies, he's able to use different types of magic too. So maybe that's just Lucius being like, dude, that's cool. I like your magic. Who knows? That's good to hear. The next generation has grown big and strong, and the generation after is beginning to put out buds. My ideals will live on in the magic knights of the next era. And then it goes to Mario Leona. Raya is about to commit suicide. Austin stops him. Okay, not going to let you die. And Julius keeps dying. Okay. What I tried to achieve, the future I tried to build, I believe they aren't far away. Royals, nobles, commoners, peasants. Also, all listed in order from most corrupt to least corrupt. Even people who aren't human. Ooh. A country without discrimination or hatred, the new future I'll build with you. Is that the part that's supposed to strike me as odd, Zeldonix? Because right here, all he's saying is like, the people that he's leaving behind is the one that he's going to build with them, and he's staying with them because he's the one who's raised this generation of Magic Knights. A free country where everybody can appreciate each other and joke and laugh together. That's the sort of country I want to build once I'm the Wizard King, says Asta. So this is kind of going hand in hand with his death. Okay. 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 So that was 146. What was the other one? 310? All right. So this is when Xenon and Yuno fight. Yeah, it's the Zuno fight. What am I looking at? Okay. Okay. This is Lucius speaking to Xenon. The weak die easily. It's impossible to protect them all. In that case, we'll destroy them temporarily, then we'll regenerate them, this time with undying bodies. With the devil's power, we four, the Zogratis siblings, can use our magic to remake humanity. Fortunate citizens who have no fear of death, let us create a truly peaceful Spade Kingdom. Wait, wow, hold up. Because, okay, this is something I didn't really pick up on, I guess. Because this looks like... So, if you go to chapter 310, page 6, in the bottom right, it has Xenon's face. And then the speech bubbles seem like it's a speech being made, and Xenon is hearing it. And it's a speech addressing more than just Xenon, is what it sounds like. That's what I just read. Fortunate citizens who have no fear of death, let us create a truly peaceful Spade Kingdom. That's interesting. Okay. I think that was the part that Saldonix wanted me to read. Okay. Well, if anything, that last part was interesting. Because it does seem like more than one person was being addressed. Like, more than just Xenon or his siblings. It looked like that might have been like the defense force for the Spade Kingdom that was being addressed. Interesting. Okay. Let me get back to the chat. Or let me read some of Twitter. 2 cents same coin. Okay. What is this? Just realized that when Julius was fighting Patri, he used a huge amount of magic till Black Dust would... What? Oh? That's not real. What? Well, ain't that about a bitch? Like, at this point, Tabata has just blatantly insulted all of our lack of observational skills. Man. God damn. Yeah, okay, it was there. That was there. Dude, I like how Asta's smiles just get better and better throughout the series. Like, it's actually a pretty bright smile. Okay, Brood again. I had this in my head the entire time I was translating the chapter and had to wait for TCB to release it before I could post it. So what was this? This person says, stops, time jerks off everyone I'm fighting, time resumes. They all come, why did I? Couldn't you just slit their throats while time was frozen? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I don't think we needed all of that other stuff. Okay. Um, let's see. Anything else? Buzz. Lucifero coming out at 100% equals destruction of the world, meaning if it feels like Lucifero could control gravity on a planetary scale. Of course. So if Astaroth can do the same for time at 100%, it's not crazy to imagine he can affect time for the entire continent at least. True. Very true. The real go of the arc. I really like this part. You know, it's Libe is much more than just a devil. Like he is an angel, but you know, personal agendas aside, he's a really cool character to me. Um, his face is kind of funny to me, but it's a cool idea for a drawing. I like that. Okay. I mean, this can go two ways unless it's about oh, this is what we were just talking about. That time stopping. Yeah. They needed Asta. Somebody needed Asta. Um okay. Weird. Y'all think Tabata will connect Zagreus to Lucius? I feel like he'd have to. They would be insane. We know he wanted to get a body and go somewhere. What if he wanted to go meet Lucius? Yeah, literally just said that. Literally just said that. Buzz is just copying what I say. Gosh. Always does it. Just kidding. Okay, let me get back to the chat. Owen went on my sus list. You saw Astaroth looks in Soul Calibur. If it looks like this, Asta's done. I don't know what Soul. I know what Soul Calibur is. I don't play Soul Calibur. I don't really play anything. Black Knight. There was a theory that Asta was sent through time. Yes, that's Broku's. Because we could see that Asta and Yuno were the only ones laid out in front of the church, even though they were found together, and now it makes sense. Yeah, it does make sense. Broku's low-key writing the story at this point. So much Astaroth fans right now. Yeah. I mean, it's so weird, because, like, I'm not, like, super into Astaroth. I think it's really cool, like, Astaroth started out a girl, became a guy during the fall. And is a part of this whole Foss legend, and doesn't want to be in hell, still does well in hell. I just think it's still not like the most interesting deity there, and yeah, I don't know, but Tabata can write a better character than this one in lore for sure. D2, I think this pushes the Demiurge idea even further, as Yaldabaoth is associated with Saturn. Saturn then with Cronus, the god of time, who ruled the Golden Age until he was overthrown by Zeus. Definitely still possible, yeah. Like, nothing has been... I won't say nothing has been, like, unconfirmed. Like, Belphegor and stuff has been, like, unconfirmed. But, like, some of these most recent theories have not been unconfirmed. So I'm still sticking with those types. But from a psychological aspect, I think it's really cool to look at some of this stuff like that. And, Jabated? I don't know what that means. Bloody Tornado, what's going on? All right, let's keep going with the Twitter. Ew. I don't like the way he looks right there. That's weird. It's kind of creepy. A thread about Astaroth. Oh. Let's see what you had to say. Okay. His appearance. Snake-like tail. In anime, his first entrance was as a grandma selling snakes. Was she selling snakes? That's interesting. He has a hellish beast, a Dremlek in Legends, use sun magic type of hell. He is or was a hellish beast. His abilities. He can change his appearance. Make you control time and fate too. Okay. So this part, and you guys that have been on the stream before have, talked to me at all. There is literally one source where Astaroth controls time, uh, and it's unreliable. So I don't go with that. I don't go with that. And I still don't. Even though it's in the series, I still don't. I don't know what source says that Astaroth has the power of time. But he does know like how people fell and why they fell, except for himself, and all that stuff. But changing appearance is something pretty much any devil can do in lore. So that's something I would never pick up on, because it's just something that almost every devil can do. The ability of changing appearance, okay, yeah. So Asta didn't delete it at this moment. I don't think in this form, like, he's not using transformation magic here. Now, if you were to use transformation magic in this form and then touch the sword, then it would come undone, is what I would say. Yeah. Okay. So his ideology, he is against Lucifer and his hate to human. I don't know if I'd say all that. There hasn't been any documented thing about like who Astaroth aligns with. Now, Astaroth is old. I'm going to be very careful by saying this. I want to say ultimately good in nature, but remember, this is like one of my very first theories on the Clipbot. Not theories, but like read-throughs on the Clipbot on this channel. It specifically says that Astaroth in this realm is so kind to a fault. Like, they spread themselves thin enough to the point they break. So you can still be really good and then have really unfavorable outcomes. It's the road to hell is paved with good intentions thing. So I don't agree with that. And considering that he's a Duke of Hell, like I don't know if I get with that. Well, let's keep going. Actually, he enjoys humans and loves talk. That is true. His goal is like Julius. He wants to make his own world, a world without death, hate, and strife. But they wrote stratified. Okay. Okay, so I would disagree with the world without death thing. So before Astaroth falls, Astaroth is a woman named Astarte, a goddess of justice. Justice kind of does imply that there is a death system in place. Um, I don't know about all of this. I think they're taking like some of the things they read and kind of stretching it to fit Julius a bit better. When I don't think they need to anymore. But anyway, because Lucifer is the main reason to make the underworld this messy. Also, he always thinks about the throne and how Lucifer stole it from him. Astaroth never had any throne. He was never a ruler of hell, so I'm not sure where they got that. He's a Duke of Hell for sure. But yeah, like the ultimate throne, Astaroth never had. His relationship with Asta definitely is his father. Okay? And he saved his life from the beginning of his life. Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm not. Oh, you know what would be interesting? Let's see. So let's run with like this father idea. I hate this stuff. This is my least favorite thing in anime by far. Is like it's the most obvious guy is this person's father. But let's run with it. So Lucida does drain the life and magic from people. And I don't know if WK is still here, but I asked him this question because he made this video talking about some ideas that we were talking about. And he had came to the conclusion that Lucida is actually a witch, and not just any witch, but the final witch or sister of fate, which is Atropos, who is the cutter of the thread of life. So there was a specific snake used, and it's called something Exotropos, which really confirms and solidifies his idea. So Lucida takes the life from that snake, and it's almost instantaneous. And I had asked WK, like, like what snake that was, so I could go look up how long it lives. And their average lifespan is like 23 to 25 years, I think, which means that she was able to suck out like 10 plus years of life instantly before it was able to strike. So, because I was thinking like, maybe humans have like a different like life pool than that of an animal, but 20 years is quite a long time. So, it's kind of odd how Asta was able to survive from her place to the church. And what I'm thinking is like, based off of this, let's say Julius and was like the father for this. If what he did to Damnatio is what happened, where Damnatio to me seems to be in a state in a type of stasis, not your typical like the sphere surrounding them, but like in an actual stasis. So then that way she was allowed to walk him over to the church before the spell came undone, and then was able to, leave him there without killing him, essentially. So now to bring this stasis into it even more, this stasis could have also prevented Asta, like this combination of stasis and then Lucida constantly draining life and mana, could have affected the way he was able to, or not able to, obtain magic at all. So, and maybe there's still like a bit of stasis over that. Like, what if, like, this has all legitimately been planned, right? So, what if there has been a stasis put over Asta's soul, in a sense, to where magic was not allowed to exist inside of him or enter him? So then that way they were able to find Liabe and use anti-magic through Asta. I don't know. That was kind of off cuff, but that was the end of the thread. So there we go. Maybe in that sense, I can get behind that, because that would take some big planning for sure. That's a cool picture. All right. I just read TCB. Why did Tabata put Asta on the clock tower, talking about his mom? What a cheeky fellow. Yeah, dirty. Let's see what you guys are saying. Jack, if Beelzebub lost his spatial magic, how would he fight time magic if he tried to fight Lucius Osteroth? With spatial magic, I can see he can create his own space where time doesn't exist. So it just depends. Like, let's say, like what I said was, dude, these people are so good at drawing. Like, let's say what I said about like some of these higher level Supreme Devils having multiple cores is true. Then he's got other attributes. But as it stood, and this is something I said as soon as Nock's father said this about gravity, time, and space, is that they kind of come to a deadlock. Like, they all have things that can counter the other, but overall, gravity, if used correctly, and I stressed, if used correctly and smartly and intelligently, it could bypass all of them. But it didn't, so Dante looks like a genius, and here we are. Where would the Time Devil hide, but at the same time being able to watch over things? On the moon? I don't know. I don't know about that one, Nick. But maybe. Nothing is impossible. But moons are increasingly important. Now, let's see. This moment alone changes everything we know about Black Clover and its connections to past arcs. Interesting. What can be time magic? Funny you should ask, Iqbal, because I have this video where I more than allude to the fact that Asta and Liabe are angels. And what counters time is experience. And I'll leave it at that. This is my own headcanon on Lucius's time magic bouncing off the clock theory. Is it a thread? Why did you stop there, Mosley? Let's see what she said. Alright, so they say everyone's relating this to Locke. Interesting, okay. Like how Watt can selectively alter futures to his will, but on a way lesser scale. I'm talking about tiny changes, points when the cast should have died in the fight, but Lucius would have reset it in those moments to get another outcome until they ended up beating him. That I can definitely see. And since we know he can store time inside himself, I don't see why he couldn't store time in other things. True. What if he stored time magic in the clock to reset it as many times as he needed to with I don't think he needed to do it within the clock. I think the clock is just there to like symbolize that the time devil is very there and present. But yeah, maybe. I see what you're saying though. I believe it's some sort of timeline reset within a smaller AoE. What does AoE mean, by the way? I don't know anything about this language. I know it was in the Black Clover game, but I have no idea what it means. Within a smaller AoE, because a global scale reset is a waste of energy for a fight that wasn't nearly to that scale. Okay, okay. The hard limit would be he can't use the time magic on himself and AoE again. What is AoE? At the same. Okay, I'm just gonna look it up because I'm not getting anything in the chat. Area of effect. Thank you. Okay, time magic on himself and area of effects at the same time. So say if he was to fight within the stored time and get killed, like against Patri, stored time would have to be used on himself, and the AoE spell would have to be reset. Interesting. Okay. I also believe the ability to store time in other items would be part of his devil attribute, not his regular Julius's time magic. Okay, that is interesting. That's really interesting, actually, Mosley. That's interesting because now that goes back to what we were talking about. Remember, we were just saying how it's possible that Julius can still fight against Lucius as like the light shadow of Lucius. To use time magic to set things up in such a way that we can still counter and stay in the fight against Lucius. So, like with the Demon Dweller sword, remember that panel? I think makes more sense in this light, where he holds the Demon Dweller sword and he goes like, "It's draining my magic," and then he smiles and he's like, "So that's it." I think Julius, like, he didn't know in that time frame that he had from the future sent that sword back so that Asta could get it, if that makes sense. So he knew. He was like, "Oh, now I remember," because now this is an object that is that has traveled through time, so it's no longer natural. So that those memories probably came right to him, as his time magic was. That makes a lot of sense. I really like that. Okay, cool. I really like that. I believe Asta is the only one that can see through the resets with Devil Union, but unknowingly. Since anti-magic makes him an anomaly, he shouldn't be affected by spells he's inside of if he's in anti-magic state. Now, if the timeline gets reset when he's out of Devil Union, he should be vulnerable like everyone else. Okay? Since Asta cannot maintain a state of true Devil Union, and he was in and out of it, he would have been affected by the resets like everyone else unknowingly. And the plot thickens. Wait a second. You know what Lucida's magic is? Storing shit in other shit. Dog. As long as it... Wait, she says as long as it has no mana, she can store shit in other shit. So maybe somehow stole her magic and fused it with his? Like how with Morris, his magic evolved due to being devil... Okay. So this is alluding to like her being contracted then. That's interesting. I really like this thread. That was really interesting. A really good observation too. Really good. I like this. I think that makes sense for the Demon Dweller sword though. Wow. That was a really really good thread. Nice. Yeah, that was cool. Okay. What are you guys saying? This is a random thought that crossed my mind. Astaroth, all I know is seeing what comes next. I can't afford not to care anymore. It's not written anywhere, but it sounds cool. Oh. Oh, so you're saying like Astaroth no longer like caring about what happens. Like just let time flow, that would be really good writing. That would be really good writing. Because we take like Lucifero having gravity, again, if he's the real Lucifer, having this fall from grace, and being the angel of free will, he is now upset and concerned with like, if I can't have free will, no one can, so they can all just grovel like I was forced to. And then for a devil, to no longer be concerned with what that attribute is, like what damned them, is really really good writing. And it actually, what that brings into play is more than redemption, it's more purification. Is if they're able to realize their faults and come to terms with it and let go, then maybe they can get out, maybe they can escape it. Maybe that's how Astaroth is able to escape to some extent, but who knows. That's a cool thought. I like that. Dylan, thanks for answering that question, by the way. I was so just in the dark. Um, Gravity, spatial, dark, light, and maybe tree magic that can fight time magic user, probably. Uh, the first the first panel or page of Black Clover looks different as I see. That's what I've been saying. Like, he doesn't look good, but yeah, now we definitely know. Patri's a bum though. Having light magic and still slow compared to other. Yeah, but to be fair, to be very very fair, Patri died when he was a child, so he really didn't get to grow into like his own powers. You know what I mean? So I'll cut him a bit of slack, but you're kind of right. If Lucius has soul magic, I hope Tabata plays it right. Similar to curse warding magic, I feel it has a potential to be plot magic. Could make this defeat look like a borderline ass pull. Divine Revelation Jack. Yes, I think that's what I was looking for as far as what I was saying to your comment, Zeldonix. Yes, Divine Revelation. Uh, I don't. So if Lucius has soul magic, it's only his soul and no one else's. That's all I'm gonna say on that. But if anyone has soul magic, I think it's gonna be Asta for sure. Let's see. People are bugging me right now. Let's see what's going on in here. But yeah, that was a really cool thread that Mosley made. He doesn't really do threads like that, so I'm impressed. It came to all of that, and then like it makes sense and everything. That's really good. Man, this could have. That was yeah okay. Here's a link. People are just. I'm ratioing that Waze guy, the My Hero Academia guy who keeps getting that J Cloud. Okay, yeah, this is all the J Cloud bullshit. Okay, cool. You got one new one, Nick. This is my own. Yeah, there we go. Cool. All right. Anything else cool on the timeline? That was such a really good read. Like, that should hit like 2,000 likes easy. There's, I'd be surprised if it doesn't. Nothing else in the chat. Okay. What do you guys want to know? I got one more topic left in me, and then I gotta go because we got a game, and we gotta kill people. So, what's on your mind, people? Let's the Devil Daddy Jack talk to you. That should be my name for my private account. Actually, I might go change it. Let's change it. It's Devil Daddy now, because it was Crackhead Jack Theories, but Devil Daddy Jack sounds much better, and I like that. So, where can I change my username? Do I have to go into settings? Magnus Artifacts. Julius didn't have horns because it wasn't Lucius using that magic, I think. Interesting. Okay. Edit the profile. Will this show, like, information I don't want to be shown? I'll change it on my phone. Because, yeah. Sketch. Yeah. What do you guys want to know? What do you guys want to know? If not, if there's nothing else, like I have no issue logging off. I just want to see. So who's Liebe at the end? Which devil? Huh. Which devil? That's the wrong question. That's the wrong question. Um, he's Sandalphone. That's who he is. Sandalphone or Lucifer. And those are my only ones for him. Sorry, I'll look at the questions again. I'm still trying to figure out how to change my there. That's not how we do it. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. But Devil Daddy is definitely happening. Okay, let's see. Boys who watch anime are so hot. What? I hate these tweets. Like they're just like, please give me likes. No. I know I am hot. I don't need you to tell me I'm hot. I'm genuinely curious. Have any of y'all cried reading manga? Yes, absolutely. Drifting Classroom made me bawl, dude. I just felt so many different ways by the end of that. I will never understand calling someone a dick rider just for gassing up their favorite series. Yeah, that's facts. Big facts. Big facts. Big facts. What are you signing? The butt of who? I'm Griffin Buns, and I approve this sign. I don't know who that is, but I get the joke. That's funny. What do we have? Since Osteroth is not... is Osteroth with Lucius since he said he wanted to create peace with Undying? No, I full on believe he's not aligned with Lucius whatsoever. Do you really think angels will show up in the final arc? No, I think angels have been there since chapter 1. I think it would, like, literally chapter 1. It would be too late and a bit of a waste only to get one arc. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be much more of the same effects that we got to where we have to reread this entire series. I full on believe we've had angels in plain sight, and I already made a video on that. What are your thoughts on the recontextualization of the Spade arc? What do you mean? Just like what this new, what this new plot means for all the other chapters that have already happened? I think it's great. Like, it was already in like a piece of art, and now it's becoming a masterpiece in front of our eyes within one chapter. Like, Tabata did a great job. Like, I have not seen anything like this before in manga, so I'm a big fan of it. Wait, but Lucifer isn't Lucifero. He was known as Satan. So look, that's what we were talking about. Like in the very beginning. So, Lucifer and Satan are two different things, and I've always ranted about Lucifer. Why am I saying this again? Anyway, just to have true names throughout this entire Spade arc for devils, and then to not have a true name, but add like this O is insane and absurd to me. And so for Damnatio to clarify that Lucifero is also known as Satan tells me that now we can look forward to maybe a Lucifer, since he is Satan. But yeah, there's still questions about how real Lucifero is and all that stuff. And remember, there's 50% of him still in the underworld, and there's still questions about. I just please go back and rewatch this live, because yeah, this is literally what I was saying in the beginning. But yeah, Lucifero's obviously bound wherever he is when he's talking to Dante. I hope he will do a sequel that mainly focuses on angels and serving gods and goddesses that represent nobles in heaven. I don't think you need a sequel for that. He can do that right now. This might come off as very unpopular, but I don't want a sequel for Black Clover. The way it's going, it needs to stand alone and be respected for the masterpiece that it will be. And that's it. Ignoring the whole devil stuff. Sorry, I think I skipped. Julius is literally a matryoshka. I don't know what that is. Sorry. Magnus, and why is the music so loud in your videos? I don't know, man. It's Magnus. Didn't you like unsubscribe? Like, I don't know why you're even watching. Um, Ignoring the whole devil stuff, we still have Charmy and the dwarves. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, actually, Broku and I are talking about that like currently. But it doesn't stray far from what I've always thought about Charmy. Uh, oh, that's so crazy. Sorry, I'm looking at my Twitter right now. That's wild. Okay. Sorry. Um, but yeah, there's gonna be. I'm gonna call it now. Um, and say that there's gonna be a really big connection made between Charmy, CL, and Yuno. Even though Charmy does have a Clover grimoire, I do think there are ties to the spade, as we know she's got food magic, and then Noct pulls out food that replenishes stamina and magic. So it seems a little too close for comfort. And then we have the wolf. And so that wolf, I've always said it was Fenrir. So in lore, when Fenrir, also regarded as Shakti or whatever, which is one of Odin's wolves, which makes sense as to why Lucius and Julius, like, kind of take Charmy in like a little kid. Like, he's always got this wolf by his side. And so when those wolves, because he's got two, and one is Fenrir, when those wolves finally catch the sun and the moon, then Ragnarok starts. So, with CL still alive, it's possible that the moon can be caught by Charmy. And if this Black Sun thing is a whole thing, and with Lucius, and he's caught somehow by Charmy's wolf, and then Ragnarok really starts. And now it's a question of what Ragnarok looks like, because a slight apocalypse was pretty devastating. So a full-on Ragnarok is gonna look insane. Yeah, I think that's all I'll get into it, because this might lead to a collab with Broku. I'm not sure, but we've been talking about it. That's okay. Just one arc left. Yeah, 300 plus chapter inside. Yeah, for sure. It's got to be up to 300 chapters. I'm sure. I tag you in something on Twitter, and it could explain why Astaroth has been missing. That's you then. Oh wait, on my main. Um, Let me go back. See what's going on. Um, Noties. Um, okay. Oh, Dylan, you're Maze? I didn't know that. The only thing that can oppose time is Light. Lucius, whose name means light, is the host of Time Devil, but what if he defeated him in a devil binding ritual? Which is why Astaroth both left the underworld and why he's been missing in action. It's possible. Absolutely possible. Yeah. Uh, I don't know, actually. Yeah. Let's see. It's a thread, so maybe they cover their bases here. Seeing action. Be posting this. Okay, no. So the only thing I take issue with is the fact that this is alluding to. Okay, wait. It's very hard to say because we haven't got like a typical devil binding spell. The devil binding that we know for sure includes relics, in which serves as a third-party medium that separates the user from the devil and takes the devil from the underworld, as pretty much noted by Guimodello himself, saying that they don't want to go back, which is why they didn't want Nock to die. So that, for sure, could be a thing. But as far as we know, Julius doesn't have a relic on him. And yeah, so I don't know about that. Then the other devil binding ritual that we did see came from Asta, and that also was not normal because he used his own body, but then that devil was in a grimoire, no longer in the underworld already. So it's very, very tough to say this for sure, but I see what's being said. Back to the chat. The meaning of the entirety of the Spade arc changed. I made an analysis on this tape, talking about it more in depth, but it's crazy how he changed the context of an entire arc and the series in one chapter. Absolutely. Tabata said final arcs, not arc. Oh, did he say multiple arcs? Okay. Which means the final act will consist of multiple arcs. Cool. Zeldonix, it would be cool if Osteroth was depressed due to the time magic until that would be cool. That's a very heavy burden to bear, to have the power of time, to be able to manipulate events, but knowing when to stop and letting go. Like back to what you were saying with like the dialogue for Osteroth. I think that is super cool and should be included. Because like if you guys ever watched the Butterfly Effect, it's the same concept. Like it's a guy who is able to manipulate events by being able to go back in time to where he wrote in this diary. So what he would do is he would read a portion of his diary out loud, and then he would literally go back to that point in time as he was, like as a kid, and then be able to like stop something from happening. But what ends up happening is, and this is the whole idea of the butterfly effect, the concept, is that from stopping one thing from happening, another event happens that sometimes is not favorable. So it causes another string of events, and it's so cool. And it's one of those movies, if you watch it, dude, you'll cry like a bitch, because like he was trying his best, I believe, to save this girl, or to be with a girl, or whatever, or something like that. And one of the things he did was like he had killed this kid as he was a kid to prevent, from other things from happening. And so he goes back to after every event that he alters, he goes back to where he was as an adult. And he goes back, and like this girl that he was trying to save is like a drug addict and is just a shadow of who she was. And he realized then like am I actually doing more good than harm? Am I doing more harm than good? And there was one time where he finally got it right. Like he had the girl, she was alive, she was safe. There was no guy that was going to kill her. And then he's in this hospital bed without any limbs. Like, his whole life was completely shattered. And so he had to go back in time, and he had to rewrite with his mouth, like, what he wanted to change. But it was like, it's one of those movies about time. Like, if you had the power to do this, would you do it? But then it's just like, there might not be a really big point. Sometimes you just got to let things go. And spoiler alert, that's what he had to do. He burned his diary, and he had to accept the present that he had to live in. And that was it. And if that comes to be with Astaroth, like as a standalone devil, man, that would be so cool. Let's see. Matryoshka dolls are a set of wooden dolls of that's what they're. I call them nesting dolls. Okay, so that's probably the real name. Cool. Yeah. So Fruta, I really hope it's true. I remembered he was mentioned that he has manuscripts. Yeah, that'd be. I hope it is several arcs. I think there's still a lot to be explained that might not be able to be explained within 300 chapters, but I like long, drawn-out stories, personally. Because he can see time as well. Yeah, yeah, you're explaining. So yeah, cool. I really hope there will be a sequel. Yeah, I don't, Shelley. I'm sorry. Um, and then Zaldonix, you see, I'm sending you a picture. You're sending me a picture. Or are you sending Shelley a picture? Who are we sending pictures to? And are they nudies? Um, Zaldonix. But that wasn't enough. Now he's being turned into a villain to inevitably be beaten by the power. Oh my goodness. What? Oh, now we're all just tagging me and stuff. Okay. Um, Dabbit. Do I know this person? Oh. Uh, Read this analysis. You're about to get your mind blown. Is it? It's not long, dude. It's. I'm not. I'm not reading this. I have no idea who you are, and it's a 2 comments on this thread. No thanks. That's a dick pic waiting to happen. Um. Okay. It's crazy how the anime showed the traders in Op 2. Yeah, absolutely. That's why when I do watch anime, I hate watching the openings. They ruin everything. Um, it sounds like Tokyo Revenge to me. I like the sequel better. All right. Cool, cool. Anyway, I just thank you guys for tuning in. And for the guys that came to the premiere for that last video, thank you. That's one of my favorite videos to put together. Like, really brought me back to my psychology days. So, it's very nice to be able to flex that knowledge sometimes. Jeez, why are your legs like that? Anyway, I'm gonna have to hop off. Wish me luck in our game. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will try to have more videos out by next week. Really got to plan them out. Really breaking down Lucius. And not trying to put it into like an hour-long video. So there's still several things about Lucius that I have not said anything about, and so stay tuned. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in again. It's been